we know it's coming, but it's way down the road. So I'm worried about today. So I think the same thing applies to subnet tokens, that only their circulating supply is what matters. And so the market caps are based on that circulating supply. Looking at how small those market caps were and still are, they start at 100K and they go up to, probably at the high end now, we're touching on 30 million. A couple of weeks ago, we were at about 20 million. And the overall trend, if you look at the market cap of the entire subnet space, has gone from, basically zero, 6 or however many number of weeks ago it was that it launched. Is it 8 now? I can't remember where we're at, but I think is it
almost 6? 2 months in.
Yeah, so 8 weeks. So we're 8 weeks into this. Started off at 0. It's now at 160 million total, and it's been a very steady line up, and that's in dollar terms, right? So if you look at what these subnets are doing, not all of them, but a good chunk of them, they are doing exactly what venture-backed AI startups are doing that are worth billions in many cases. So, you have 10 million here and, 5 billion over here, and the two entities are doing basically the same thing. It almost I look at that and I'm like, we're insane if we're not buying subnet tokens. And people are like, no, but it's going to crash from $12 down to $2. Well, you know what? Ethereum was once $12 and it crashed down to $2. And nobody can time the market, so you don't know when it's going to go up or when it's going to go down real fast, right? But if you bought at $2 or $12 and then Ethereum became worth $4,500, do you really give a shit if you bought it at 12 or 2? No, you wish it was 2 because you'd have 4 times as much, but you still got in at 12, which is still better than most people, so still pretty good, right? So I feel like we're in that moment with subnet tokens where we'll wish we could get in a time machine and go back to this moment where all these absurdly low market caps are available for the taking. And the reason why they're so absurdly low is because the Bittensor universe is hard to get into, as I mentioned at the top of the show. So that's what I think.
Yeah. And then do you have specific favorites? I've seen you tweet about. Is there any type of subnet you think is better suited or you look to invest in?
I try to go for serious stuff as much as possible. What does that mean? I don't know. It feels serious. The people seem serious. Nova's a great example, right? So Nova's got a subnet where they are hunting pharma molecules, and the way that their model works is they could not get venture funded because they're hunting in the search space that they're hunting in is something that nobody would fund because it's highly speculative, which means you'll probably find nothing. But if you do find something, holy shit, right? That's what they're doing. It's like the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, right? You point a telescope at the sky, you're probably not going to hear anything, but if you do hear something, holy shit, right? So they're kind of doing the same thing for pharma molecules, and that's a very, very serious thing. And so I like that one, and the market cap is still relatively low. My thesis on this, though, is all the market caps are low, so you might as well go for things that are they're definitely contenders to win, right? So we know Shoots and Targon, Shoots especially. Oh, Shoots is up to 30 million this morning. I didn't see that. Okay, awesome. So Shoots is on. Oh, Shoots is launching their parent company is launching their agent, make an agent with no code product. So they're productizing their AI, right? So I like that, right? Proprietary trading network doing something similar where they are, they're basically productizing their AI's ability to predict markets. Well, I don't know how good this will be, but assuming AI is better than humans at predicting markets, that'll be a valuable product. Templar is a new, sort of newish up-and-comer. Gradients is part of the Shoots threesome. So it's one of the three that are sort of powering that network of agents. TensorPlex Dojo, although it's not doing great today. They're backed by, I can't remember, they're backed by Binance.
CD from Binance.
Yeah, it is Binance. Okay, so they're the Binance one. So I don't know what that means, but I like the fact that CZ's jumped in on one, right? So, Hippias, that one Mog pointed out. I bought more of that just last night, actually, and I'm up 39% today. Awesome. So yeah, they're basically like a Filecoin, but in the Bittensor universe. They're decentralized storage. So anyway, all these things. There's some sponsor behind them, like Mog Machine, or CZ, or Yuma, which is Barry Silbert's Bittensor accelerator. So it's one of those. Some decent entity has sort of said, yeah, I'm standing up and saying this is a real thing. So it's not a rug, right? And that they're serious AI people. Curiously enough, one of the other ones that I sort of hold is Cato. KIATO, and they are, they have huge presence on X, and they also have another token. So some people don't like that. The Nova people, I did ask them point blank. I'm like, okay, let's say you find the molecule that cures cancer, right? Like, if I'm a subnet owner, like, do I get a taste? Do I get to wet my beak? Like, what? How does that benefit me, right? And they basically they wouldn't commit to an answer other than, we're aware of that problem, we are thinking about it, and we're gonna, once we figure it out, we'll do something. So that was basically what they said. And I believe them. I believe they will try to do something, right? So, and that could take many forms. Maybe they do share revenue, right? Maybe they start popping tau directly into the wallets that own their subnet token. They could do that, right? Like they could get that information off the chain. There's all kinds of ways in which they can actually reward their subnet token holders. And I think the best subnets will do more and more of that over time. So, it's still early days. The flip side of that argument is, just thinking about Tesla again, I had a thought the other, maybe a couple months ago, I was thinking about stocks versus crypto and meme coins. And it occurred to me that, there are meme stocks, but actually every stock is a meme, right? Like, why does anything have value? And the answer is because human brains in aggregate think it has value, right? So enough human brains are like, that thing, has value. This pop top is worth $1 trillion. If enough people think it's worth $1 trillion, then it is worth $1 trillion. At a certain level, we're all just clapping for fairies out here. Like that. Why is anything real? Well, because there's enough people clapping for that fairy, right? That goes for dollars, that goes for Bitcoin, that goes for gold, and it goes for stocks, right? So people are like, well, there's fundamentals behind stocks, like, there's Fibonacci's and blah, blah, blah. No, those are reasons. Those things cause the human belief, right? I'm not saying it's nothing. Like, for example, if Tesla, we know there's an order coming up for 1 million cars from, I don't know, China or somebody. That is a fact which influences my perception of the value of Tesla, the company, right? So, but it doesn't actually cause the value. Right, it influences my perception. That's really how it works, right? So, in a certain sense, all stocks are meme coins for companies. Unless I'm getting dividends off of it, and there's something sort of more tangible to it, it's just a meme coin for that company. I think so. I'm sort of two minds about it. I guess is probably where I'm ending up on this. But I do think the subnet should provide some benefit above and beyond just being a meme coin for that particular subnet.
So the access to the top 64 validator UID slots is it?
Yeah, and it could be that the subnet token is the token you need to use. It's the utility token for that particular AI, right? So you got to pay me in my token. Which people now are like, utility tokens didn't work. That was bullshit. Well, it didn't work because Gary Gensler attacked everybody who did it. Right, so evolutionary pressure killed off that whole subgenre of crypto of the utility token. But the idea completely has merit. It's exactly what the United States did with the dollar when they unhooked it from gold in 1973, and then hooked it up to Saudi Arabia. The petrodollar. Right, you had to have dollars to buy Saudi Arabian oil. So what was the dollar in that case? Well, the United States dollar was a utility token for the Saudi oil app, right? So, and it worked, right? That's what gave the dollar value. It created demand for dollars. Less true today than it was back then, but that was what sort of kicked off the petrodollar, and that sustained the dollar through that period. So I do think, subnets requiring their own token as payment as a utility token is in fact one way that they could reward token holders.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting way to look at the US dollar, which has a lot of truth to it. Do you see any other drivers of value towards these subnets? Like, do you think what more could they do? Do you view it like a company where they will just run buyback programs like Apple does in the billions of dollars eventually?
Yeah, that's a really great point. Real companies in the real world buy back their stock all the time. This is not like a bullshit thing, right? Like it's a real thing. It's a legit thing, put it that way. It's not like a scam thing, right? So, right, which it sort of sounds like a scam thing when you first hear about it. You're like, oh, you're just pumping your own token, right? But that's the way the real economy works also. So it's not like it's necessarily a terrible idea. It is a little artificial. It'd be nice to have, organic demand and that's it. But that's probably not always going to, that's probably, that's true a lot of the time, but it's not always true. So it's okay to buy back your token when or your stock or whatever when it's down, and you can get a lot of it for a cheaper price. Why not? You're as legitimate a buyer as anyone else.